Hi everyone. The purpose of this presentation is to explain how all map projections are based on actual distances traveled along the surface of the Earth. January 2025, a person living in Australia stated, "The Gleason's map does not represent the true size or true shape of the continent of Australia." This comment came from a video presentation on my GeoTruth channel. Since this person lives in Australia, they would know the actual distances traveled along the surface of the Earth, driving within their own continent. So I began focusing on this and researching it. On October 29, 2022, I created my GeoTruth YouTube channel, which its sole purpose is to seek truth about the Earth and the heavens above. For 3 years, I've studied and researched the heavens and the Earth, knowing YAHUAH created them based on his scriptures. I have also studied and researched the subject of navigation concerning the Earth, Sun, and Moon. During these 3 years of study and research, I believed the Earth was a circular level plane as shown on the Gleason's map. But the Gleason's map was the only azimuthal equidistant map projection I've ever seen, which has a map projection centered at the location point of plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude, which is the North Pole. This is the azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with a center location point at plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude, the North Pole, and is the Gleason's map. This azimuthal equidistant map projection is the only map used by biblical cosmologists and flat Earth believers to justify the surface of the Earth as level or flat. Azimuthal equidistant map projections are not limited to just this one center location point. There are many thousands of other center location points used for azimuthal equidistant map projections. All map projections, including azimuthal equidistant map projections, are based on actual distances traveled along the surface of the Earth. Observing the actual distances traveled along the surface of the Earth is the only means of determining the Earth's true shape and true size. Here is a link to obtain azimuthal equidistant map projections of many other central location points and cities on the surface of the Earth. This is an air map of the world dated 1943 and is an azimuthal equidistant map projection centered at plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude, like the Gleason's map. The link to the projection map is shown. Here are the notes on the air map of the world addressing Global War Strategy Map and explanation of projection. Here are the notes on the air map of the world addressing airline distances and air map of the world. Looking at the longitude scales, the number of miles in each 10 degrees of longitude, we see that at 50 degrees north latitude and 50 degrees south latitude, the miles are the same at 445 miles. At 40 degrees north latitude and 40 degrees south latitude, the miles are the same at 531 miles. At 30 degrees north latitude and 30 degrees south latitude, the miles are the same at 600 miles. At 20 degrees north latitude and 20 degrees south latitude, the miles are the same at 650 miles. At 10 degrees north latitude and 10 degrees south latitude, the miles are the same at 681 miles. At the equator, the miles are 692 miles. Since the number of miles in each 10 degrees of longitude is the same north and south of the equator, then at 90 degrees south latitude, South Pole, the miles is 0, like the North Pole at 90 degrees north latitude. At 80 degrees south latitude, the miles is 120, like at 80 degrees north latitude. At 70 degrees south latitude, the miles is 237, like at 70 degrees north latitude. At 60 degrees south latitude, the miles is 347, like at 60 degrees north latitude. This is the air age map of the world dated 1946 and is an azimuthal equidistant map projection centered at plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude, like the Gleason's map. The link to the map projection is shown. Here we see the scale in statute miles along the parallels between 15 degrees of longitude is mirrored at the equator, showing the distance in miles at the South Pole, 90 degrees south latitude, is 0 miles, like the North Pole at plus 90 degrees north latitude. Here is an azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with a center location point, London, England, plus 51.50 degrees latitude, minus 0.08 degrees longitude. The date of the map is 1945, and the link to the map projection is shown. This azimuthal equidistant chart generator provides an AE map projection centered for any location on the Earth. The link to this page is shown. We will generate an azimuthal equidistant map projection with a center location point at London, England, plus 51.50 degrees latitude, minus 0.08 degrees longitude. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on London, England, plus 51.50 degrees latitude, minus 0.08 degrees longitude. The radius in miles from the center point to the circular edge is 12,428 miles, and the diameter is 24,856 miles. This is an azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with a center location point, Frankfurt, West Germany, plus 50.12 degrees latitude, plus 8.68 degrees longitude. The date of the map is 1987. The link to the map projection is shown. We will generate an azimuthal equidistant map projection with a center point at Frankfurt, West Germany. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Frankfurt, West Germany, plus 50.12 latitude degrees, plus 8.68 longitude degrees. The radius in miles from the center point to the circular edge is 12,428 miles, and the diameter is 24,856 miles. This is an azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with a center location point, Nairobi, Kenya, 11.28 degrees latitude, plus 36.82 degrees longitude. Date of the map is 1971. The link to the map projection is shown. We will generate an azimuthal equidistant map projection with the center location point at Nairobi, Kenya. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Nairobi, Kenya, 11.28 degrees latitude, 36.82 degrees longitude. The radius in miles from the center point to the circular edge is 12,428 miles, and the diameter is 24,856 miles. This is an azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with a center location point, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, minus 22.09 latitude, minus 43.23 longitude. The date of the map is 1975. The link to the map projection is shown. We will generate an azimuthal equidistant map projection with a center location point at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, minus 22.09 latitude, minus 43.23 longitude. The radius in miles from the center point to the circular edge is 12,428 miles, and the diameter is 24,856 miles. This is an azimuthal equidistant map projection of the Earth with the center location point, Clark Air Base, Philippines, plus 15.184 degrees latitude, plus 120534 degrees longitude. The date of the map is 1988. The link to the map projection is shown. We will generate an azimuthal equidistant map projection with the center location point at Clark Air Base, Philippines. On the left side is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Clark Air Base, Philippines, plus 15.184 latitude, plus 120.534 longitude. The perimeter circle of the map is actually one location point, which is Pontes e Lacerda, MT, Brazil, minus 15.184 latitude, minus 59.466 longitude. This location point is 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away from the Clark Air Base, Philippines location point. On the right side is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Pontes e Lacerda, MT, Brazil, minus 15.184 latitude and minus 59.466 longitude. The perimeter circle of the map is actually one location point, which is Clark Air Base, Philippines, plus 15.184 latitude, plus 120.534 longitude. This location point is 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away from Pontes e Lacerda, MT, Brazil location point. The radius in miles from the center point to the circular edge on both map projections is 12,428 miles, with a diameter of 24,856 miles. Man's interpretation of biblical cosmology. John 17, 1-3. These words spoke YAHUAH, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come, glorify your Son, that your Son also may glorify you, as you have given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as you have given him. And this is eternal life, that they might know you, the only true Yah, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom you have sent. To know Yah is to know he created the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 1, Isaiah 45:12, Psalms 19:1-2, Psalms chapter 104, Job 38-39, Romans 1:20. The earth is the center of Yahuwah's creation. The earth and the seven heavens/firmaments above the earth are firm, fixed, and unmovable. 1 Chronicles 16:30, Psalm 93:1, 96:10, 104:5, 119:90, 148, 1-6, Ecclesiastes 1-4, Isaiah 45:18, Job 38:4-6. Yahuwah brought forth the sun on day 4 of creation to be the sole timekeeper of the earth forever. The sun circles above the firm, fixed, and unmovable earth from east to west. Psalm 19:4-6, 51, 113:3, Ecclesiastes 1:5, Malachi 1:11, 1 Enoch 72, 37-38, Jubilees 2:23, 2 Baruch 32:6. 1 day equals 24 hours equals 1 revolution, 360 degrees circling above the earth. Biblical cosmology is man's interpretation of how the heavens and the earth were physically created by Yahuwah. Any interpretation of biblical cosmology must always seek to be based on Yah's truth and true observations. Definition of a location point on the surface of the earth. A location on the surface of the earth is defined as one specific point that is identified by a latitude and longitude coordinate. Latitude coordinates are referenced from the equator, 0 degrees latitude, and range from plus 90 degrees north to minus 90 degrees south. Longitude coordinates are referenced from the Greenwich meridian, 0 degrees longitude, and range from plus 180 degrees east to minus 180 degrees west. The farthest north location point on the surface of the earth is plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude. The farthest south location point on the surface of the earth is minus 90 degrees latitude and minus 90 degrees longitude. The foundation of understanding navigation is there is only one specific latitude and longitude point for any location on the surface of the earth. Definition of Earth map projections. An Earth map projection is a systematic transformation of the Earth's curved surface to a two-dimensional flat map. Depending on the type of two-dimensional map projection, each are designed to either preserve or distort certain properties such as area, shape, distance, or direction. 3 basic types of map projections which transform the Earth's spherical surface onto a flat two-dimensional plane. Cylindrical map projections like the Mercator map, conic map projections like the Lambert map, and azimuthal projections like the Gleason's map. Cylindrical projections like the Mercator map preserves direction but distorts area. Web Mercator, which is the Google Maps, preserves shape but distorts area. Gall-Peters preserves area but distorts shape. Conic projections, the Albers equal area, preserves area but distorts shape and scale. Lambert conformal preserves shape but distorts area. Equidistant preserves distance from center but distorts area and shape. Azimuthal planar projections, stereographic preserves shape but distorts area. Genomic preserves great circle paths, shortest route, but distorts area and shape. Azimuthal equidistant preserves distance from center but distorts area and shape, and distortion increases with distance from center. This is the case with the Gleason's map centered on the North Pole, extremely distorts Antarctica. An azimuthal equidistant Earth map projection is projected onto a flat surface from a center location point. Distance and direction is preserved from the center location point only. This is the primary property preserved by the projection. All straight line distances from the center location point to any other point on the map are accurate. All directions, azimuths, from the center location point to any other location are correct. This makes it useful for radio and air navigation, especially when the map is centered on a specific city or location. Area and shape is distorted on an azimuthal equidistant map projection. Area distortion increases with distance from the center location point. Land masses at the outer edge of the map, like Antarctica on the Gleason's North Pole centered map, wrongly appear as a perimeter outer circle. The South Pole location point on the surface of the Earth is minus 90 degrees latitude, minus degrees longitude, but the map distorts the location point to be a perimeter outer circle, which is false. The azimuthal equidistant projection is not equal area. Shapes are only preserved near the center location point. Distortion worsens toward the edges, especially at the outer circle of the map. Continents and countries are stretched in the east to west direction, longitude direction, and compressed in the north to south direction, latitude direction, the farther they are from the center location point. There are many practical uses of an azimuthal equidistant Earth map projection. They're ideal for center location point based navigation systems, like military command centers, flight information regions, long-range radar coverage maps, search and rescue coordination centers, and airport route planning from a hub. Now we are going to determine the true size and shape of the continent of Australia. Again, the foundation of understanding navigation. There is only one specific latitude and longitude point for any location on the surface of the Earth. Azimuthal equidistant map projection, center location point North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. Distance and direction is preserved from the center location point only, North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. All straight line distances from the center location point, North Pole, are accurate. All directions azimuth from the center location point, North Pole, to any other location are correct. The distance from the North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude, and South Pole point, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude, is 12,428 miles, which is correct. Area and shape distortion increases with distance from the central location point. The north to south distance, latitude distance, of landmass areas compress more with distance from the center location point. The east to west distance, longitude distance, of landmass areas stretch more with distance from the center location point. The South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude, location point, is extremely distorted to be a perimeter outer circle, which is false. As shown on the map projection, Australia's true shape and area is extremely distorted. The north to south latitude landmass is compressed, and the east to west longitude landmass is stretched. And the circular perimeter is in actuality one location point, the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude. Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection. Center location point North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. This is the same map projection as the previous one. Australia's true shape and area is extremely distorted. The north to south latitude landmass is compressed, and the east to west longitude landmass is stretched, and the circular perimeter is in actuality one location point, the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude. This diagram is a depiction of how the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant Gleason's map is projected from the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth. On the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth, the center location point is the North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. On the spherical globe Earth, the opposite location point from the North Pole is 180 degrees latitude and 100 degrees longitude away, which is the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude. The surface distance from the North Pole to the South Pole on the left side is 12,428 miles, and the surface distance from the North Pole to the South Pole on the right side is 12,428 miles, totaling a circumference of 24,856 miles. On the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map projection, the North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude, is the center location point, and the South Pole location point, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude, becomes a false perimeter circle with a circumference of 78,087 miles. The direction and distance along the surface of the Earth from the North Pole location point and the South Pole location point is correct, with a radius of 12,428 miles and a diameter of 24,856 miles. Using Google Maps, the latitude and longitude coordinates of Brisbane, Australia and Perth, Australia are determined. The coordinates are rounded to a 100th of a degree. Brisbane, Australia's location point is minus 27.45 latitude and plus 153.00 longitude. Perth, Australia's location point is minus 31.95 latitude plus 115.86 longitude. Now we will use the Gleason's map to determine the straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane to Perth. Using the latitude scale on the azimuthal equidistant Gleason's map projection, which as shown is 1,036 miles per 15 degrees of latitude, the distance from Brisbane to Perth is approximately 5,400 miles. Using AutoCAD, the entire azimuthal equidistant Gleason's map projection can be perfectly scaled to better determine the distance between Brisbane and Perth. Here is the Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection to scale in AutoCAD, showing the distance is 5,272 miles from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia. Here is a more detailed map projection showing how the distance from Brisbane to Perth was determined. Brisbane's longitude line of plus 153.00 is located from the center North Pole location point. Brisbane's latitude location is 27.45 degrees south of the equator, which equals 1,895 miles south. A circle with a radius of 1,895 miles is centered where the equator intersects Brisbane's longitude line. Brisbane is located 1,895 miles south on longitude line plus 153.00. Perth's longitude line of plus 115.86 is located from the center North Pole location point. Perth's latitude location is 31.95 degrees south of the equator, which equals 2,206 miles south. A circle with a radius of 2,206 miles is centered where the equator intersects Perth's longitude line. Perth is located 2,206 miles south on longitude line plus 115.86. The straight line distance from Brisbane to Perth is 5,272 miles. Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection is updated to reflect the distance of 5,272 miles from Brisbane to Perth. This table summarizes when the Gleason's azimuthal equidistant projection map is centered at the North Pole location of plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude. The straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 5,272 miles. The link shown is an azimuthal equidistant projection program which allows selecting the center location point anywhere on Earth, which we will use to center the location point to be Brisbane, Australia. The azimuthal equidistant projection map is centered on the North Pole. The program lists various countries and cities to select as the center location point. Australia will be selected first, and the map projection centers on Australia. Brisbane is selected, and the map projection centers on Brisbane. The map projection centered on Brisbane can be zoomed in. Next, Perth will be selected, and the map projection centers on Perth. The size and shape of Australia changed significantly compared to the Gleason's map. This is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Brisbane, Australia location point, minus 27.45 latitude, plus 153.00 longitude. Brisbane, Australia location point is minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 longitude. The location point opposite from Brisbane, Australia on the surface of the Earth is exactly 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away from that location point, which is plus 0.2745 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 longitude. Inputting this location point in Google Maps shows the location point on the North Atlantic Ocean. The location point opposite from Brisbane, Australia on the surface of the Earth is plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 degrees longitude on the Atlantic Ocean. However, the map projection falsely depicts the plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 longitude location point as an Atlantic Ocean perimeter circle. The map projection distorts the location point to a circle. The direction and distance from center location point Brisbane, Australia to plus 27.45 latitude minus 27.00 longitude location point in the Atlantic Ocean is correct. The distance along the surface of the Earth between these two location points is 12,428 miles. This diagram is a depiction of how a two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map is projected from the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth. On the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth, the center location point is Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude. On the spherical globe Earth, the opposite location point from Brisbane, Australia, is 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away, which is in the Atlantic Ocean, plus 27.45 latitude, minus 27.00 longitude. The surface distance from Brisbane, Australia to plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 degrees longitude, the Atlantic Ocean, on the left side is 12,428 miles, and the surface distance from Brisbane, Australia to plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 degrees longitude, the Atlantic Ocean, on the right side is 12,428 miles, totaling a circumference of 24,856 miles. On the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map projection, Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degree latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude is the center location point, and the plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 degrees longitude Atlantic Ocean location point becomes a false perimeter circle with a circumference of 78,087 miles. The direction and distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia, location point, and plus 27.45 degrees latitude, minus 27.00 degrees longitude Atlantic Ocean location point is correct, with a radius of 12,428 miles and a diameter of 24,856 miles. The link shown is an azimuthal equidistant projection program which allows obtaining distances along the surface of the Earth from a center location point to any other location point on the Earth. The azimuthal equidistant projection is centered on the North Pole. The cursor is moved to the center of Australia and clicked on it to center the map projection. The map is continually zoomed in to roughly locate Brisbane, Australia. The map does not show city names. Brisbane, Australia is pinned as the center location point. The location of Perth, Australia will be roughly pinned next. Perth, Australia is pinned. A red line connects from Brisbane to Perth, and a distance of 3,623 kilometers is shown. This azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Brisbane, Australia, shows a straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 3,623 kilometers, which equals 2,250 miles. The first table summarizes when the Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection is centered at the North Pole location, plus 90 latitude, plus 90 longitude. The straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 5,272 miles. The second table summarizes when the azimuthal equidistant map projection is centered at Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude. The straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 2,250 miles. The Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection greatly distorted the distance by a factor of 2.34. This link is an azimuthal equidistant projection program which allows inputting any latitude and longitude point as the center location point on the Earth and selecting the radius distance from the center location point between 1 kilometer, which is 0.62 miles, to 2009 kilometers, which is 12,428 miles. Here is the input page to request an azimuthal map. In the location box, which is the center location point, plus 90 degrees latitude and plus 90 degrees longitude is inputted. In the distance box, which is the radius from the center location point, 2,009 kilometers is inputted. 2,009 kilometers equals 12,428 miles. Label cities is checked, lat long grid is checked, and label grid is checked. Then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with the North Pole plus 90 degrees latitude plus 90 degrees longitude as a center location point on the map projection. This is the Gleason's map. The radius from the North Pole to the South Pole is 12,428 miles. Going back to the request an azimuthal map page in the location box, which is the center location point, minus 90 degrees latitude and minus 90 degrees longitude is inputted. Everything else stays the same, then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude as a center location point on the map projection. The radius from the South Pole to the North Pole is 12,428 miles. Going back to the request an azimuthal map page in the location box, which is the center location point, minus 27.45 degrees latitude and plus 153.00 degrees longitude, Brisbane, Australia is inputted. Everything else stays the same. Then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153 degrees longitude as a center location point on the projection map. The radius from Brisbane, Australia to the outer circle is 12,428 miles. Going back to the request an azimuthal map page in the distance box, which is the radius from the center point location, 4,200 kilometers is inputted, which is 2,609 miles. Then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude as a center location point on the map projection with a radius of 4,200 kilometers, which is 2,609 miles. Going back to the request an azimuthal map page in the distance box, which is the radius from the center point location, 3,800 kilometers is inputted, which is 2,360 miles. Then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude as a center location point on the map projection with a radius of 3,800 kilometers, which is 2,360 miles. Zooming in on Perth, Australia, we see the radius from Brisbane, Australia can still be reduced so that the location point of Perth is right at the edge of the radius. Going back to the request an azimuthal map page in the distance box, which is the radius from the center point location, 3,607 kilometers is inputted, which is 2,240 miles. Then create map is selected. The azimuthal equidistant map is shown with Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude as the center location point on the map projection with a radius of 3,607 kilometers, which is 2,240 miles. Zooming in on Perth, Australia, we see the location point at the edge of the radius. The azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 135.00 degrees longitude, shows a straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 2,240 miles. The third table summarizes the azimuthal equidistant map projection program centered at Brisbane, Australia, minus 27.45 degrees latitude, plus 153.00 degrees longitude. The straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 2,240 miles. Tables 2 and 3 are very close in agreement of the actual straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia. The latitude and longitude distance calculator website provides the ability to input two location points to determine the straight line distance along the surface of the Earth between the two location points. Inputting the latitude and longitude location points for Brisbane, Australia and Perth, Australia results in a straight line distance of 2,238 miles along the surface of the Earth between the two locations. The distance is based on the Great Circle calculator. Actual observed distances on the surface of the Earth are always based on the Great Circle distance between location points. Job 22:14. Thick clouds cover him, so he cannot see, and he walks above the circle of heaven. Job 26:10. He drew a circular horizon on the face of the waters at the boundary of light and darkness. Proverbs 8:27. When he prepared the heavens, I was there, when he drew a circle on the face of the deep. Isaiah 40:22. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. Actual observed distances along the curved surface of the earth are derived from the Great Circle formula. D is the distance along the curved surface of the earth between two location points. The radius of the earth is 3,956 miles. Latitude and longitude coordinates are in radians. I've created my own Great Circle formula spreadsheet, which is in agreement with the latitude and longitude distance calculator. Here is a geometric diagram of the distance along the curved surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia. The fourth table is based on the Great Circle formula, showing the actual distance along the curved surface of the Earth from Brisbane, Australia to Perth, Australia is 2,238 miles. The distances shown in tables 2 and 3 are very close to the actual distance shown on table 4. The reason is Brisbane, Australia is the center location point in tables 2, 3, and 4, and the straight line distance from the center point to any other location point on an azimuthal equidistant map projection is correct because the straight line distance is the actual distance along the curved surface of the Earth. Here is a comparison of the Gleason's azimuthal equidistant map projection with the center location point North Pole plus 90 degrees latitude plus 90 degrees longitude, and the azimuthal equidistant map projection with the center location point Brisbane, Australia minus 27.45 degrees latitude plus 135.00 degrees longitude. Both maps are to scale. The Gleason's map projection is a false projection of Australia. Australia's shape and area are extremely distorted. The north to south distance, latitude distance, is extremely compressed. The east to west distance, longitude distance, is extremely stretched. The azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on Brisbane is a true map projection of Australia. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection with the center location point South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude. As shown on the map projection, North America, Canada, and Asia's true shape and area are extremely distorted. Their north to south latitude landmass is compressed, and their east to west longitude landmass is stretched. The circular perimeter is actually one location point, the North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. This diagram is a depiction of how the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map is projected from the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth. On the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth, the central location point is the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude. On the spherical globe Earth, the opposite location point from the South Pole is 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away, which is the North Pole, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude. The surface distance from the South Pole to the North Pole on the left side is 12,428 miles, and the surface distance from the South Pole to the North Pole on the right side is 12,428 miles, totaling a circumference of 24,856 miles. On the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map projection, the South Pole, minus 90 degrees latitude, minus 90 degrees longitude, is the center location point, and the North Pole location point, plus 90 degrees latitude, plus 90 degrees longitude, becomes a false perimeter circle with a circumference of 78,087 miles. The direction and distance along the surface of the Earth from the South Pole location point and the North Pole location point is correct, with a radius of 12,428 miles and a diameter of 24,856 miles. Again, here is a list of practical uses of an azimuthal equidistant Earth projection map. We will focus on the practical use of using an azimuthal equidistant map projection for airport route planning from a hub. We will use an azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on John F. Kennedy International Airport at Howard Beach, New York. Using Google Maps, the John F. Kennedy International Airport runway is pinned, and the location point is plus 40.63375 degrees latitude, minus 73.77648 degrees longitude. Rounding the coordinates to the 100th degree, the center location point is plus 40.63 degrees latitude, minus 73.78 degrees longitude. The location point opposite from JFK International Airport runway location on the surface of the Earth is exactly 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude, and that location point is minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude. Inputting this location point in Google Maps shows the location point on the Indian Ocean. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection centered on JFK International Airport runway, location point plus 40.63 degrees latitude, minus 73.78 degrees longitude. The location point opposite from JFK International Airport runway on the surface of the Earth is exactly 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away from that location point, which is minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude on the Indian Ocean. However, the map projection falsely depicts the minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude location point as an Indian Ocean perimeter circle. The map projection distorts the location point to a circle. The direction and distance from the center location point, JFK International Airport, to minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude location point on the Indian Ocean is correct. The distance along the surface of the Earth between these two location points is 12,428 miles. This diagram is a depiction of how the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map is projected from the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth. On the three-dimensional spherical globe Earth, the center location point is the JFK International Airport runway, 40.63 degrees latitude, minus 73.78 degrees longitude. On the spherical globe Earth, the opposite location point from the JFK International Airport runway point is 180 degrees latitude and 180 degrees longitude away, which is minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude on the Indian Ocean. The surface distance from the JFK International Airport runway location point to minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude location point on the Indian Ocean on the left side is 12,428 miles, and the surface distance from the JFK International Airport runway location point to minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude location point on the Indian Ocean on the right side is 12,428 miles, totaling a circumference of 24,856 miles. On the two-dimensional azimuthal equidistant map projection, the JFK International Airport runway plus 40.63 degrees latitude minus 73.78 degrees longitude is the center location point, and the location point minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude Indian Ocean becomes a false perimeter circle with a circumference of 78,087 miles. The direction and distance along the surface of the Earth from the JFK International Airport runway location point and minus 40.63 degrees latitude plus 106.22 degrees longitude location point is correct, with a radius of 12,428 miles and a diameter of 24,856 miles. Using Google Maps, the Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport runway is pinned, and the location point is plus 48.99701 degrees latitude plus 2.57833 degrees longitude. Rounding the coordinates to the 100th degree, the center location point is plus 49.00 degrees latitude plus 2.58 degrees longitude. Using the request and azimuthal map program, the JFK International Airport runway center point is inputted, and the radius distance from the center point is inputted at 5,880 kilometers, which equals 3,652 miles. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection with the JFK International Airport runway plus 40.63 degrees latitude minus 73.78 degrees longitude centered on the map with a map radius of 5,880 kilometers, which equals 3,652 miles. Zooming in on the map projection, we can obtain the straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from JFK International Airport runway plus 40.63 degrees latitude minus 73.78 degrees longitude to Paris Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway plus 49.00 degrees latitude plus 2.78 degrees longitude. We notice the location point of the Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway is less than the radius of 5,880 kilometers or 3,652 miles. Next, we will determine the actual distance between these two location points by using the Great Circle formula. The latitude and longitude distance calculator website provides the ability to input two location points to determine the straight line distance along the surface of the Earth between the two location points. Inputting the latitude and longitude location points for JFK International Airport runway to Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway results in a straight line distance of 3,624 miles along the surface of the Earth between the two locations. The result is based on the Great Circle calculator. My Great Circle formula spreadsheet is in agreement with the latitude and longitude distance calculator. The straight line distance along the curved surface of the Earth from the JFK International Airport runway to the Paris Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway is 3,624 miles. The straight line distance along the curved surface of the Earth from the JFK International Airport runway to the Paris Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway is 3,624 miles. Here is a geometric diagram of the distance along the curved surface of the Earth from JFK International Airport runway to Paris Charles de Gaulle International Airport runway. Using Google Maps, the Los Angeles International Airport runway is pinned, and the location point is plus 33.93747 degrees latitude, minus 118.40519 degrees longitude. Rounding the coordinates to the 100th degree, the center location point is plus 33.94 degrees latitude, minus 118.41 degrees longitude. Using the Request an Azimuthal Map program, the JFK International Airport runway center point is inputted, and the radius distance from the center point is inputted at 4,000 kilometers, which equals 2,484 miles. Here is the azimuthal equidistant map projection with the JFK International Airport runway plus 40.63 latitude minus 73.78 degrees longitude centered on the map with a map radius of 4,000 kilometers, which equals 2,484 miles. Zooming in on the map projection, we can obtain the straight line distance along the surface of the Earth from JFK International Airport runway plus 40.63 degrees latitude minus 73.78 degrees longitude to Los Angeles International Airport runway plus 33.94 degrees latitude minus 118.41 degrees longitude. We notice the location point of the Los Angeles International Airport runway is less than the radius of 4,000 kilometers or 2,484 miles. Next, we will determine the actual distance between these two location points by using the Great Circle formula. Inputting the latitude and longitude location points for JFK International Airport runway and Los Angeles International Airport runway results in a straight line distance of 2,468 miles along the surface of the Earth between the two locations. The results are based on the Great Circle calculator. My Great Circle formula spreadsheet is in agreement with the latitude and longitude distance calculator. The straight line distance along the curved surface of the Earth from the JFK International Airport runway to the Los Angeles International Airport runway is 2,468 miles. The straight line distance along the curved surface of the Earth from the JFK International Airport runway to the Los Angeles International Airport runway is 2,468 miles. Here is a geometric diagram of the distance along the curved surface of the Earth from JFK International Airport runway to Los Angeles International Airport runway. Conclusion: YAHUAH created the firm, fixed, and unmovable Earth to be spherical. There is only one specific latitude and longitude point for any location on the surface of the Earth. Actual observed distances along the curved surface of the spherical Earth are derived from the Great Circle formula. All Earth map projections are a systematic transformation of the Earth's curved surface to a two-dimensional flat map. An azimuthal equidistant map projection, which includes the Gleason's map, provides true distance and direction only from a center location point on the surface of the Earth. The straight line distances from the center location point on the surface of the Earth to any other location point on the surface of the Earth are based on the Great Circle formula. The foundation of understanding navigation is there is only one specific latitude and longitude point for any location on the surface of the Earth. Shown again is a slide addressing man's interpretation of biblical cosmology. Biblical cosmology is man's interpretation of how the heavens and earth were physically created by YAHUAH. Any interpretation of biblical cosmology must always seek to be based on Yah's truth and true observations, knowing the surface of the earth is spherical. YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word is the earth's firm, fixed, and unmovable foundation, and the heavens' firm, fixed, and unmovable foundation. YAHUAH holds everything in place on the earth and heavens by his word. The winds described in 1 Enoch 18:1-3 is YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word, which is the four winds, north, south, east, and west, and are also the four pillars of the earth and firmament/heavens. Passages in parentheses have been added to show winds are analogous to YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word. 1 Enoch 18:1-3 I saw the treasuries of all the winds, YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word. I saw how YAHUAH had furnished with them the winds, the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds, north, south, east, and west, YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word, which bear, support the earth and the firmament of heaven. And I saw how the four winds, YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word, stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These winds, YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word, are the four pillars of the heaven. YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word, holds everything in place on the earth and in the heavens. Hebrews 11:3 By faith we understand that the worlds are framed, created by the word, Ruach, breath, of YAHUAH, so that the things which are seen are not made of things which are visible. YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word is a continuum of his divine agency in creation. The four winds/pillars are manifestations of his sustaining presence in all directions. Firm, fixed, and unmovable describe the faithfulness of YAHUAH. The earth and firmaments remain stable because the Ruach, breath, word of YAHUAH continually commands and sustains them. YAHUAH's spoken order, the breath of his mouth, is a continual living expression and the foundation of his cosmos, preserved in harmony forever. YAHUAH is both outside and inside of his creation. He sees everything at the same time. YAHUAH is both transcendent, beyond and outside his creation, and immanent, present and active within it. Transcendence. YAHUAH exists outside and beyond his created cosmos. Isaiah 66:1. Thus says YAHUAH, heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Acts 17:24. YAHUAH, who made the world and everything in it, since he is YAHUAH of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands. Immanence. YAHUAH simultaneously fills all his creation, and his Ruach, breath, word sustains every part of it. Jeremiah 23:24. Can anyone hide himself in secret places, so I shall not see him, says YAHUAH? Do I not fill heaven and earth, says YAHUAH? Acts 17:28. For in him, YAHUAH, we live and move and have our being. YAHUAH both encompasses his creation as its creator and sustainer, and dwells it as its life and presence. YAHUAH perceives his creation wholly within this dual relationship, from outside as the architect sees his design, from within as the life that animates it. The circle of the earth, the view from YAHUAH's divine transcendence. Isaiah 40:22. It is he who sits above the circle, compass, circuit, chug of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. The Hebrew word chug means circle, circuit, or compass. It conveys roundness and completeness, an all-encompassing whole. When viewed from outside creation, YAHUAH's transcendent vantage point, the heavens and the earth appear as perfect concentric circles or spheres, the signature of divine order and unity, wholeness, eternity, completeness of YAHUAH's perfection reflected in creation. Job 22:14. Thick clouds cover him, so he cannot see, and he walks above the circle, compass, circuit of heaven. Job 26:10. He drew, inscribed, and compasses a circular horizon on the face of the waters, at the boundary of light and darkness. Proverbs 8:27. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle, compass, circuit on the face of the deep. The nested circles of creation are the firmaments around the earth. YAHUAH sees all from outside and within. The seven firmaments appear as nested, concentric spheres, each circle of heaven surrounding the next, with earth at the center of his created order. From YAHUAH's outer vantage, the creation is a circle within circles, or spheres within spheres, all transparent to his sight and bound by his Ruach, breath, and word. YAHUAH's omniscient view encompasses his entire cosmic structure simultaneously. Genesis 1:6-7. Then YAHUAH said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus YAHUAH made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of YAHUAH, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Jubilees 2:4. And on the second day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. The circle/sphere is YAHUAH's attribute of divine wholeness. YAHUAH's omnipresence encloses creation. He is outside it and pervades it. He is inside it. YAHUAH's omniscience sees all things at once, not synchronously or locally. From YAHUAH's eternal, all-encompassing perspective, creation appears as perfect, circular, and ordered, no beginning or end from his vantage point, just as he himself is eternal. YAHUAH is both beyond and within his creation. He perceives the earth and the firmaments as concentric circles/spheres. The circle of the earth, seen from his transcendent viewpoint, is the same reality humans experience within, the ordered, enclosed world, upheld by his Ruach, breath, word. The circle/sphere is not just a physical description, but an attribute of his divine wholeness. The seven firmaments and earth are firm, fixed, and unmovable because they are securely held in his continued divine presence. YAHUAH's simultaneous view, inside and outside creation, reveals the unity of the physical and spiritual realms, all transparent before him. The earth, the center of YAHUAH's creation, is spherical. The firmaments are also spherical. There are 15 verses in the Bible which mention rakia/firmament, which are listed. None of these verses states the seven firmaments touch the earth. There are 25 verses in the Bible which state heavens above, which are listed. None of these verses state the seven firmaments touch the earth. There are 8 verses in the Bible which state earth beneath/below, which are listed. These verses state the heavens above and the earth beneath/below are separate from each other. Job 26:7. He, YAHUAH, stretches out the north over the empty place, and hangs the earth upon nothing. This verse aligns with 1 Enoch 18:1-3. YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word is the firm fixed foundation of the earth and the firm fixed foundation for the seven firmaments. Since earth is a sphere, then the seven firmaments are layered spherical barriers or nested shells encapsulating the earth. Cosmology of the heavens and earth, firmaments based on YAHUAH's scriptures. First firmament, great hanging sea/waters above, fire, snow, and ice made ready for the day of judgment. Second firmament, sun and moon, host of angelic army ordained for the day of judgment. Third firmament, paradise/New Jerusalem/kingdom of YAHUAH. Fourth firmament, thrones and dominions, which angelic hymns are ever offered to YAHUAH. Fifth firmament, stars, angels who bear witness to the angels of pure spirit. Sixth firmament, angels of pure spirit who carry out the commands of the fiery angels. Seventh firmament, tabernacle of YAHUAH and his holy begotten son Yahusha, fiery angels who carry out the commands of YAHUAH. Since YAHUAH's omniscience sees all things at once, he always sees the circular edge of the spherical earth as shown in this next video. YAHUAH's Ruach, breath, word holds the heavens and the earth firm, fixed, and unmovable. Yet, he sees everything on the surface of the earth at the same time, with the outer edge of the earth as always being a circle, which is the circle of the earth. Cosmology of the sun. 1 Enoch chapter 72. YAHUAH's astronomical algorithms the sun obeys. Observed navigational data of the sun. Sundial observations of the sun. Gates of the sun. 1 Enoch chapter 72. YAHUAH's astronomical algorithms the sun obeys. Observed navigational data of the sun. Sundial observations of the sun. Spring and fall equinoxes. 1 Enoch chapter 72. YAHUAH's astronomical algorithms the sun obeys. Observed navigational data of the sun. Sundial observations of the sun. Summer solstice. 1 Enoch chapter 72. YAHUAH's astronomical algorithms the sun obeys. Observed navigational data of the sun. Sundial observations of the sun. Winter solstice. 1 Enoch chapter 72. YAHUAH's astronomical algorithms the sun obeys. Observed navigational data of the sun. Sundial observations of the sun. YAHUAH states it is impossible for mankind to know the height of the heavens and the depth of the earth. Proverbs 25:3. As the heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings cannot be searched. Jeremiah 31:37. This is what YAHUAH says. Only if the heavens above could be measured and the foundations of the earth below searched out, would I reject all of Israel's descendants because of all they have done, declares YAHUAH. YAHUAH created the earth for mankind and ordained mankind to dwell on the earth's surface. Mankind's realm is limited within two barriers. The firmament above provides air and pressure and oxygen, and the earth's surface provides dwellings and food resources. Like the spherical firmaments above, the abysses below the earth's surface are spherical spiritual realms created by YAHUAH. For these reasons, it is impossible for mankind to know the height of the heavens and the depth of the earth. YAHUAH's scripture stating the earth is created for mankind to dwell on. Jubilees 2:14-15. YAHUAH created all the animals of the earth, and all the cattle, and everything that moves on the earth. After all this, YAHUAH created man, a man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the earth, and in the seas, and over everything that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth. And over all this YAHUAH gave him dominion. Genesis 1:28. Then YAHUAH blessed them, Adam and Eve, and YAHUAH said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Genesis 2:15. Then YAHUAH Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. Psalm 115:16. The heaven, even the heavens, are YAHUAH's, but the earth he has given to the children of men. Ecclesiastes 1:4. One generation passes away, and another generation comes, but the earth abides forever. Ecclesiastes 5:2. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before YAHUAH. For YAHUAH is in heaven, and you on earth. Therefore let your words be few. Isaiah 45:18. Thus says YAHUAH, who created the heavens, who is Elohim, who formed the earth and made it, who has established it, who did not create it in vain, who formed it to be inhabited. I am YAHUAH, and there is no other. Acts 17:26. And he, YAHUAH, has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on the face of the earth, and has determined their preappointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings, so they should seek YAHUAH in the hope that they grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. YAHUAH's scriptures concerning the four abyss realms beneath the earth. This table depicts the four abyss realms beneath the earth with the appropriate scriptures listed. Realm 1, righteous, Sheol/Hades. Realm 2, unrighteous, Sheol/Hades. Realm 3, Tartarus/bottomless pit. Realm 4, Gehenna/lake of fire. 1 Enoch 22:1-2. And thence I went to another place, and he, the angel Uriel, showed me in the west another great and high mountain, and of hard rock, and there in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. In these following scriptures, YAHUAH explains the 2 separate Sheol realms, one realm for the righteous and one realm for the unrighteous. Luke 16:22-23. One day the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's side, the righteous Sheol realm. And the rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, the unrighteous Sheol realm, where he was in torment, and he looked upon and saw Abraham from afar with Lazarus by his side. John 5:28-29. Do not marvel at this, for the hour is coming, in which all who are in the graves will hear his, Yahushua's voice, and come forth. Those who have done good, placed in the righteous Sheol realm, to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil, placed in the unrighteous Sheol realm, to the resurrection of condemnation. Yahuah's scriptures concerning the four abyss realms beneath the earth. Jubilees 2:2-3 states, Yahuah created 7 kinds on day 1 of creation: the earth, the waters, the heavens, the angels, the abysses, darkness, and light. The Bible, 1 Enoch and Jubilees, describe 4 abyss realms beneath the earth. Righteous Sheol/Hades, dead souls of all mankind from creation who are deemed righteous by Yahuah and will be resurrected by Yahushua on the day of his return to the earth. Unrighteous Sheol/Hades, dead souls of all mankind from creation who are deemed unrighteous by Yahuah and will be thrown into the lake of fire at the end of the millennial reign. Tartarus/bottomless pit. Watcher angels and 90% of the unclean spirits/demons are bound in chains, awaiting judgment, and will be thrown into the lake of fire by Yahushua on the day of his return to the earth. On that same day, Satan will be bound in chains until the end of the millennial reign, when he will be thrown into the lake of fire. Gehenna/lake of fire, the place where all unrighteous souls perish. The first beast, false prophet, and 10% of the unclean spirits/demons will be thrown into the lake of fire by Yahushua on the day of his return to the earth. At the end of the millennial reign, Sheol/Hades and Tartarus/bottomless pit will be thrown into the lake of fire. Here is a depiction of the abyss realms beneath the earth. The earth is physically spherical. The 7 spherical firmaments/heavens above the earth are spiritual realms. Likewise, the 4 abyss realms beneath the earth are spherical spiritual realms as shown. Since these 4 abysses are spiritual realms, it is impossible for mankind to know the depth of the earth. Satan continually deceives mankind to never know Yahuah as the creator of the heavens and the earth. For thousands of years, Satan has purposely deceived mankind to never know Yahuah as the creator of the heavens and the earth. On day 1 of creation, Yahuah created all the angels, including Satan. All the angels witnessed the magnificent, unimaginable, glorious power of Yahuah as he spoke by his Ruach, breath, word, into existence from invisible to visible all things described in days 2 through 6 of creation. All things brought forth by Yahuah are from and continue to be by his Ruach, breath, word, emanating energy, frequency, and vibration within his invisible ether realm. Satan always uses Yahuah's truth and deceives that truth. Satan observed how Almighty Yahuah created the heavens and the earth, which are firm, fixed, and unmovable. Satan knows he's not able to hide or change the physical spherical shape or size of the earth Yahuah created. The only deception Satan can do is to make the world believe in a heliocentric universe where the earth is spinning and rotating. The sun is firm, fixed, and unmovable. The firmaments do not exist. The heavens are an expanding infinite vacuum of space, and there is no creator. If Yahuah created the surface of the earth to be level/flat, then Satan, the prince of the world, would be forced to deceive mankind based on that design. Yahuah's true creation: firm, fixed, unmovable earth and firmament/heavens, versus Satan's heliocentric universe deception: spinning/rotating earth, no firmaments, no creator. Yahuah holds the oceans, lands, buildings, plants, and all living beings in place on the surface of the earth. Yahuah's creation of the firm, fixed, and unmovable spherical earth is miraculous, yet not logical for mankind to understand. Mankind has been deceived by Satan, the prince of the world, to believe the spherical earth spins, which causes a force called gravity, which holds the oceans, lands, buildings, plants, and all living beings in place on the surface of the earth. Yahuah, by his holy set-apart mighty Ruach, spirit, wind, breath, word, holds the oceans, lands, buildings, plants, and all living beings in place on the surface of the earth. The surface of the firm, fixed, immovable spherical earth is 70% ocean and 30% land, which Yahuah's Ruach, spirit, wind, breath, word, holds in place. YAHUAH commands the surface of the oceans to stay at sea level, and the oceans obey and are bound by land at the shorelines of all continents and islands. Therefore, when using a long-range camera, mankind perceives the surface of the oceans and shorelines as being level or flat because the camera is simply following the curved surface of the shoreline at sea level, which is perceived as level. YAHUAH holds together his spherical heavens and earth realms by his holy, set-apart Kadash spirit, wind, breath, word, Ruach. Genesis 1:9. And then YAHUAH said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And YAHUAH called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And YAHUAH saw that it was good. Job 37:5-6 and 9-12. YAHUAH thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things we cannot comprehend. For he says to the snow, fall on the earth, and to the gentle rain, pour out a mighty downpour. The tempest comes from its chamber, and the cold from the driving north winds. By the breath of YAHUAH, the ice is formed, and the watery expanses are frozen. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through them. They swirl about, whirling at his direction, accomplishing all that he commands over the face of all the earth. Job 38:4-6 and 8-11. YAHUAH is speaking to Job. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding, who fixed its measurements? Surely you know, or who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its foundations set, or who laid its cornerstone? Who enclosed the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its blanket? When I fixed its boundaries, and set it in place its bars and doors, and I declared, you may come this far, but no farther. Here your proud waves must stop. Psalm 89:8-9. O YAHUAH, Elohim of hosts, who is mighty like you, O YAHUAH? Your faithfulness also surrounds you. You rule the raging of the sea. When its waves rise, you still them. Psalm 93:4. YAHUAH on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, than the mighty waves of the sea. Psalm 33:6-8. By the word of YAHUAH the heavens were made, and all the hosts of them by the breath of his mouth. He gathers the waters of the sea together as a heap. He lays up the deep in storehouses. Let all the earth fear YAHUAH. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. Psalm 104:1-9. Bless YAHUAH, O my soul. O YAHUAH, my Elohim. You are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty, who cover yourself with light as with a garment, who stretch out the heavens like a curtain. He lays the beams of his upper chambers in the waters, who makes the clouds his chariot, who walks on the wings of the wind, who makes his angels spirits, his ministers a flame of fire. You who laid the foundations of the earth, so that it should not be moved forever. You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled. At the voice of your thunder they hastened away. They went up over the mountains. They went down into the valleys, to the place which you founded for them. You have set a boundary, that they might not pass over, that they might not return to cover the earth. Psalm 137:6. To him, YAHUAH, who laid out the earth above the waters, for his mercy endures forever. Proverbs 8:29. When he, YAHUAH, assigned to the sea its limits, so that the waters would not transgress his command, when he, YAHUAH, marked out the foundations of the earth. Jeremiah 5:22. Do you not fear me, says YAHUAH? Will you not tremble at my presence, who have placed the sand as the bound of the sea, by a perpetual decree, that it cannot pass beyond it? And though its waves toss to and fro, yet they cannot prevail. Though they roar, yet they cannot pass over it. YAHUAH brought forth the earth's 4 seasons during creation week, which are continually sustained by his holy, set-apart Kadesh spirit, wind, breath, word, Ruach. YAHUAH controls the weather with the sun, the polar regions, and the ocean currents by his holy, set-apart Kadesh spirit, wind, breath, word, Ruach. The sun is the primary driver of all weather. The sun supplies 99% of its solar energy to the earth. It drives the winds, storms, rainfall, snowfall, evaporation, hurricanes, and jet streams. Without solar heating, there would be no temperature differences, no winds, no storms, no weather. Everything begins with uneven solar heating. The equator gets maximum heat, and the poles get minimal heat. This uneven heating creates pressure differences, which create wind, which creates weather. The polar regions is Earth's cooling system. Antarctica is Earth's main refrigerator, which cools 80% of the entire ocean system. It is the coldest place on Earth and creates most of the world's cold, dense bottom water. Powers the world's conveyor belt of ocean currents. The Arctic is a smaller cooling unit which cools 20% of the ocean system, mainly in the North Atlantic Ocean. Drives deep water formation in the North Atlantic. Influences weather patterns over North America, Europe, and Asia. Shapes the jet stream. Together, the polar regions pull heat away from the equator and toward the poles, creating storm tracks, wind belts, and ocean circulation patterns. The ocean currents is the Earth's heat transport system. The oceans absorb 90% of the sun's excess heat and transport it to around the world. The ocean currents distribute warmth to the poles, coastlines, and the atmosphere above them. Warm currents, like the Gulf Stream, create warmer winters, more storms, and higher humidity. Cold currents, like Antarctic waters, create cooler climates, foggy coasts, and reduced rainfall. The oceans act as a world thermostat. The Earth's weather system. The sun is the heater, the poles are the coolers, the oceans are the circulation pump, the atmosphere is the fluid that responds. Earth's weather exists because the sun heats, the poles cool, and the oceans transport that heat and cold around the world. The reason YAHUAH designed the oceans to cover 70% of the Earth's surface. Antarctica and the Arctic cool the Earth because the oceans cover 70% of the Earth's surface. The three-part system which produces a stable climate balance on the Earth. The sun equals constant heating. The equator absorbs most of the heat. The poles equal constant cooling. Antarctica and Arctic create cold water and cold air. The oceans are the conveyor belt that connects the warm surface waters and the cold deep waters. This heating and cooling cycle is continuous and self-regulating. The average ocean temperature across the world stays close to 37 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The deep ocean remains extremely stable over centuries. Ocean temperatures don't rapidly drift despite solar fluctuations. The heating and cooling system is so stable that even with seasonal variations, Earth's oceans maintain a steady temperature across the world from year to year. If the oceans covered less than 70% of the surface of the Earth, Earth would overheat much more in the tropics. Little cold water would form in the polar regions, jet streams and storm tracks would collapse. Temperatures across the world would fluctuate wildly, and life would not exist. YAHUAH's unique design of Antarctica. Antarctica is a continent surrounded by ocean. It is a massive landmass covered by a thick ice sheet up to 3 miles deep. Because land loses heat quickly, Antarctica becomes far colder than the Arctic. Winter is minus 76 to minus 112 degrees Fahrenheit. Summer between minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth. The Antarctic ice sheet is incredibly thick, average elevation 8,000 feet. High elevation equals lower temperatures. Antarctica is encircled by the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which isolates Antarctica. Strong winds and currents trap cold air over the continent. This isolation is a major reason Antarctica is so much colder. Sea ice grows much farther outward in winter but melts back in the coast in summer. Antarctica has 24 hours of daylight in summer and 24 hours of darkness in winter. The Antarctic interior receives far less solar heating due to higher elevation, higher reflectivity due to bright snow, and is extremely dry and clear. The Antarctic region is primarily influenced by the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which flows clockwise from west to east around Antarctica and connects the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, acting as a principal pathway for oceanic exchange. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current is the strongest and largest ocean current in the world and plays a crucial role in regulating the Earth's climate and marine ecosystems. Antarctica is surrounded by the Southern Ocean, which features several significant ocean currents. Antarctica powers the world's conveyor belt of ocean currents and cools 80% of the ocean's warm surface waters. YAHUAH's unique design of the Arctic. The Arctic is an ocean surrounded by continents. The Arctic Ocean helps moderate temperatures because water retains heat. Sea ice forms on top of water, and the water below is warmer than the air, reducing extreme cold. Winter, -4 degrees to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Summer typically around 32 degrees Fahrenheit, much milder compared to Antarctica. Mostly low elevation sea ice, average elevation 0 to 1,000 feet. Thinner sea ice, more influenced by seasonal melting and warmer ocean waters. Warmer Atlantic and Pacific currents sometimes move into the region, adding warmth. The Arctic Ocean, surface currents, and deep currents are summarized here. The Arctic powers the North Atlantic Ocean currents and cools 20% of the ocean's warm surface waters. Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, Yahuwah's invisible qualities, his eternal power, and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from his workmanship, so that men are without excuse. Revelation 5:13. And every creature which is in heaven, and on the earth, and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, I heard saying, Blessing and honor and glory and power be to Yahuwah who sits on the throne, and to Yahushua forever and ever. Hallelujah!